What happens when you take the Land Rover Defender, hike its power to 626 brake horsepower and torque to 700 Newton meters, and give it rally raid style active suspension? Well, this, the Defender Octa, the most powerful Land Rover Defender ever to reach production, with a twin-turbocharged V8 engine and insanely clever 4x4 tech that means it promises to be one of the fastest ways to get across rough terrain. Brilliant, I said. How about a decent place to test it? How's South Africa? Said Land Rover. Yep, that'll do. Our test route takes in more than 400 miles of stunning roads from Cape Town up to the Cederberg Mountains, punctuated by a couple of potentially car-breaking off-road sections designed to really test every aspect of this new machine. The mighty V8 power plant under the bonnet is not the only thing that differentiates the Defender Octa from a standard Defender 110 on which it's based. It's 28mm higher off the ground. It's 62mm wider. It's got this large grille for extra cooling for that engine under the bonnet, and now twin air takes both sides, so you can have snorkels in dusty conditions because it needs that extra breathing. And if you have a look at the wheels, there are a couple of different designs and they're lightweight alloys. They come in 20 and 22 inches, and the rubber surrounding them, there's a few options. Standard is the off-road all-terrain tyre. Then you've got an advanced all-terrain, which we've got for this epic journey through South Africa, and we need it, trust me, for all of the rock crawling and so on. Then there's a road tyre, an all-terrain tyre, and that is, I guess, for people who like to drive more as rock stars to gigs than rock crawling. Holding the car on top is an active suspension system called 6D Dynamics, which involves a network of hydraulically interlinked, continually variable semi-active dampers that manage pitch and roll, designed to make this Defender just as impressive at high speed as it is crawling over rocks, and in fact, the system has twice the compression capability as the standard suspension. On the road, the Octa's mighty hybridised V8 makes its presence felt, with effortless performance at any speed. On the knobbly tyres, speed is limited to 99 miles per hour, and of course that kind of speed would be illegal on roads in South Africa. But it certainly felt like the Octa could take that in its stride, and even on the advanced all-terrain rubber, road noise levels weren't extreme at highway speeds, and it proved a very comfortable place indeed to be for hours at a stretch. With the same steering rack as the Range Rover Sport's SV, it feels relatively sharp and responsive too, though clearly would benefit from the road rubber. Turn off the black top and onto loose gravel, stick the Land Rover terrain response system into the grass, gravel and snow mode, and you get an altogether different side of the Octa. For miles and miles at a time, we were able to put the hammer down and get a feel for what this car is like on loose surfaces at speed. The advanced all-terrain tyres were worth their weight in gold here, but so is the terrain response system, which you can feel working over time to help keep the car pointing in the right direction. Switch to dynamic mode, slide the gear lever across into sport, and use the paddles to shift the cogs, and the Defender Octa comes alive, though you do need to keep your wits about you. An even more extreme test set up for us involved the Octa Arena, a sandy, bumpy circuit where speed limits be damned. This was about maximum attack. Hold down the button on the steering wheel and it engages Octa mode, which sets up the suspension for rally raid style attacks with reduced roll pressures but dampers set to maximum. And in this setup, the system expects it might just see some airtime, even setting up the suspension for a hard landing if it detects all the wheels have left the ground. We're told the Octa went through more than 1 million kilometres of real-world testing, but if there were still any doubts about the strength of its suspension system and the punishment it can take, this was dispelled right here at the Octa Arena. The Octa's versatility then saw us tackling some of the toughest rock crawling I've ever experienced, and it passed these areas without seeming to break a sweat. What this car was capable of doing had our jaws on the floor. Of course, the advanced all-terrain tyres are essential here too, and their 3-ply construction helped ensure they weren't shredded by the jagged rocks, but it's still massively impressive to see such a big, heavy car pull its way up and down this section of tour route so effortlessly. The final test, from the crags of Bushman's Kloof, we headed west to the coast and the sand dunes of Lambert's Bay. Here, the advanced all-terrain tyres were far from the ideal option, but dropping the pressures down to around 20 psi and engaging sand mode meant we had a fighting chance. And here, once again, the Octa proved its chops. And this was one of the most entertaining parts of our drive. It also suggests that when Land Rover takes on the Dakar, perhaps the world's most challenging and car-breaking rallies, in 2026 with the Octa, it could be in with a good shout of winning in its first outing. Is there a catch? Well, the £145,000 starting price, which is nearly £50,000 more than an entry-level 110, is most definitely punchy. The first edition version I was driving is £161,000 in fact. But considering the mind-boggling capabilities of the car, and that chief rival, the Mercedes-AMG G63, is even pricier, the Octa could be seen as a bit of a bargain. It mixes trademark Land Rover toughness with extreme sportiness, while keeping those inside feeling amazingly cosseted. After 400 miles of some of the toughest driving conditions anyone is likely to experience, the Defender Octa was completely unfazed, and I felt as fresh as I had when we first set off. For fun, comfort, durability and extreme off-road capability, the Defender Octa sets a new high bar.